There's several ways we try to provide value to our clients here at Redefined Horizons, and that's not an easy thing to do. We work really hard at it. I'm sometimes embarrassed at how how civil engineers and land surveyors take their clients' money and don't provide good value. Danny and I were in a meeting not too long ago. We were doing some training, and we were part of the conversation, the class conversation that came up at one of the breaks. We realized that a land surveyor that works in our area had cost a land development client the vested rights on several thousand units, residential units, because of just because they didn't know what they were doing. And when I hear those kinds of stories, it breaks my heart. It's really, and it's embarrassing as a licensed land surveyor. So, of course, Dan and I aren't perfect, and the world is a complicated place, but we work really hard to make sure that we're providing our clients with good value. And there's several ways we do that. In fact, I wrote down 7 here. I want to make sure I don't forget any of them. So I want to go through those 7 ways that we try and provide value. And I've talked about some of these before, so I'll try and keep this short. But I think it's worth emphasizing the things that we do to try and make sure that our clients are getting good value for their dollar. So one is we work really clearly at the beginning of a project to understand what our clients' objectives are. And so we do that. Part of how we do that is by asking a lot of questions. I find that many surveyors don't ask very many questions at the start of the project. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say we're working for an architect on a project. We want to know, what are we building? What are the critical milestones that we need to hit for the project to be a success? What are the potential risks that this project has here? What are the issues that the neighbors have with the project? How is the architect doing their work? What type of software do we need to be using? How do we need to structure our deliverables? Do we need to phase our deliverables? How can we keep this project moving forward as fast as possible? What are the key things we need to do to make the architect's work easier? Who else do we need to interact with on the project? So we've got a standard set of questions that we like to ask our clients and their consultants at the start of a project, so that we can keep things running smoothly. Those are just things that we've learned from experience that we need to ask. Frankly, a lot of it's stuff that's been messed up on previous projects. That's part of the reason why you hire a guy with 20 years of experience, because he's messed some stuff up, and I've messed some stuff up on some projects. So part of what we do right at the beginning of the project is trying to understand what exactly the clients wants to accomplish and help them get to that goal. Do what we can to help them get to that goal. Part of how we do that is by asking the right questions. We try really hard to build good relationships with other people in the real estate industry. This is the second thing that we do to add value. So we work really hard to have good relationships with real estate brokers, real estate appraisers, land title professionals, real estate attorneys, land lawyers, land planners, officials at our local cities and counties, local lenders that fund projects, design professionals, architects, civil engineers, structural engineers, folks that do environmental work, geotechnical work, all those different things. So we work really hard to treat our clients well and to treat our business partners well, and to even be polite and professional and kind with the people at our local government agencies who we don't always see eye to eye with, but we still try and treat them with respect and dignity. We understand their job is not always easy. So that's the second thing we do. The third thing we do is we regularly try and invest in the capabilities of our team, and that's something that's really important to me and Danny. We've worked at places where that doesn't happen. So we do a thing we call Teaching Tuesdays, where I try and teach members of the team about different things that I've learned in the past. We try and send our team to the annual surveying conference every year. The whole team, everybody goes, and that's paid for by the company. And I'm always willing to pay for training for the team, whether that be community college classes or workshops. Danny and I just got back from a workshop on the subdivision map class a few weeks ago. So we try and do that regularly. I would say we invest more in the training of our team than any other surveying and land planning organization that you probably know of in California. And that's something we take pride in. Part of the reason we can do that is because We can afford to invest heavily in our people because they're not going anywhere. We have a very low turnover rate. Everybody that works here gets a share of our profit. We run the business in a transparent way. Anybody that's on a track to become a licensed professional has an opportunity to be an owner here. And so because of the way we run the business, we hang on to people, and so that means we invest in them. And it's not just our people; we invest in our technical capabilities too. So we invest in GIS, and we invest in UAVs. We do a lot here to make sure that our people have the best tools that we can get them, because we think that allows us to deliver better products to our clients and to our project owners. We try and keep our overhead costs low. So even though we are investing in training and in equipment and software, we have very modest offices. We don't have fancy offices. Everybody that works for my company lives right here in the Central Valley, where housing is more affordable than it is in the Bay Area or even in Sacramento. So, and we live simple. Danny and I both live modestly. We live pretty simple. We don't drive fancy sports cars or own yachts or have summer homes in Tahoe. We live, not that there's anything wrong with those things, but if you're a client of ours, you're not paying for that. That's just not the type of people Danny and I are. We both live very simple, and we value other things in life. I think it just comes from the way we were both raised. And so we live simple, we live modestly, and we value things other than money. Money's important to running a business, but it's not the most important thing to us in our lives, in our personal lives. And so because we run a lean operation, that gives us more money to invest in our capabilities. And frankly, we pass along a lot of that value on to our clients, which allows us to build more projects, and that's why we're doing this. The reason we're in business is to build projects. And the other thing that we work really hard to do here is we try and help our clients find unique and creative solutions to their problems. So even though we're land surveyors, one of the things I take pride in is we work closely with a couple of good land attorneys, and I personally try and learn everything I can about land use planning. And so we're always thinking about ways we can solve our clients' problems on a real estate project as effectively and affordably as we can. And a lot of surveyors don't do that. They just run around hitting everything with a survey hammer. And that's not always the most effective or affordable thing to do. Sometimes the surveyor doesn't have a solution to your survey problem. Sometimes the attorney has the solution, or sometimes the title insurance officer has the solution, or sometimes the architect has the solution. And so we try and learn as much as we can about other parts of the business. So personally, I make a commitment to learn as much as I can about real estate law and real estate appraisal and land use planning, because we want to be aware of how those other professionals can help us solve problems for our clients. So we're not just running around with a survey hammer, trying to just always find a survey solution to things. Sometimes a survey solution is the right answer, but frequently I find it's not. The older I get, the more I realize the survey hammer is not always what you should be hitting the nail with. We try and provide our clients with honest and accurate feedback. So when they come to us with a potential development project, or they're looking at buying or selling a piece of property, we don't tell our clients what they want to hear, and we don't sugarcoat stuff. We try and give them honest, accurate feedback, because that's what they need from us. It's really important. And if a client comes to me with a potential project and I don't think it's going to pencil, I'm going to tell them that, even though they don't want to hear it. And if a client comes to me and they're thinking about buying a piece of property and I think there's major problems, land use planning problems or title problems, I'm going to tell them that, even though they may not want to hear it. And a part of the reason I do that is because I've benefited from that kind of advice in my own life. I was in a situation a few years ago where I had an opportunity to buy a business, and I hired an attorney to help me evaluate that. And the deal just wasn't going well. Some promises weren't being kept and things were going a little sideways. And so my attorney called me up and he said, Landon, he says, I know you don't want to hear this, but I really think you need to walk away from this deal. And I didn't want to hear that. I had some people working for me at the time that I really cared about, and I knew if I left, they were going to be out of work, and that was really going to be hard for me emotionally. And I just told my attorney, he said, I really want to try and make this work. And he said, I can't tell you what to do, Mr. Blake. He said, but I'm a lot older than you are, and I've seen a lot of deals like this. And he said, I have a strong feeling that this is not going to work out well for you. And I took that attorney's advice and I walked away from that deal even though it was difficult. And I appreciate that advice that he gave me even though it wasn't what I wanted to hear. And why did I hire the attorney in the first place? I hired him because he could be objective and non-emotional, and because he was an expert, and that's what I needed. As the decision maker in that situation, I was not objective and I was very emotional. And so I needed good advice, and I paid that man to tell me what I didn't want to hear. And I'm glad that he did it. And so that's what we try and do for our clients. So the last thing, the last way we try and provide value is we try and help our clients make accurate assessments of risk. So every real estate transaction, whether it's just an investment or if it's a land development project, carries risk. Some of those risks cannot be eliminated. They can be mitigated sometimes, and sometimes they can be eliminated, but sometimes they can't. And especially when you're dealing with the government and government regulation, there's a lot of risk there. And so we're trying to work for clients that want to understand those risks, and that's really part of how we deliver value. And I think that's something that we do that a lot of surveyors don't. So, a lot of surveyors aren't thinking about unwritten rights when they're on your property. They're not thinking about the potential land title problems that you could have. They're not asking questions about your title insurance coverage. They're not thinking about how the zoning might impact your project. They're not thinking about how potential changes to zoning or even capital improvement plans from the city or county, how that might affect you. And so we're trying to do all of those things. We're really trying to broaden the scope of land surveying and take a broader look at the risks related to boundary and land title and land planning that might come up on your project. Even things like a financial risk, your ability to finance that project over the long term or to obtain title insurance when you need to. So we're trying to help our clients identify those risks. And what that really does is it enables our clients to make better decisions about real estate investment and development, and that's part of how we're trying to help them. So those are 7 things that we work really hard at here at Redefined Horizons. We work hard at those things. They're not easy. They represent a huge investment on our part as a company and as individuals, but we do work hard to really provide value, to do more than just hand you a survey or set a property corner, to really find other ways to provide value, because real estate in California is risky and it's complicated, and we can help people provide them with real value, and we try and do that.